Everyone keeps saying AI is coming for data analyst jobs. And if you've been watching the headlines, the layoffs, and the panic, I get why that sounds believable. AI is not eliminating value in data analytics, it's just exposing where the real value was the entire time. And once you see the difference, the conversation around AI replacing analysts starts to look a whole lot less convincing. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what changed, what didn't, and why a lot of people are reading this shift completely wrong. Now, if this is your first time here, I'm Kadisha, and 6 years ago, I was delivering pizzas and Amazon packages for $8 an hour. And today, I am running a community of over 80,000 current and aspiring data professionals. And I've helped thousands of other career changers break into data analytics without going back to school and wasting money on courses that just don't work. And if you're ever interested in working with me to land your first role in data analytics, just click the link in the description. So let's get into it. Okay, so the biggest misunderstanding about AI right now is simple. People think that because they can access information that they can execute on it. But those are two completely different things. Yes, you can generate code in seconds. You can use AI to summarize a 200-page report in a paragraph. You can ask a chatbot to explain any business metric and get a decent answer. But none of that actually means you can do the work. Peter Drucker said it best. Efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right things. AI is incredibly efficient. It generates outputs at scale that we've never seen before, but it struggles with effectiveness, and it cannot determine which business problems are worth solving first, and it cannot navigate political and financial trade-offs baked into every corporate decision. The numbers also proves this gap. In 2025, enterprises spent roughly $200 billion on AI deployments, and somewhere between 80 to 95% of those pilots failed to reach production or deliver any measurable impact on the bottom line. So that's billions of dollars poured into technology that cannot bridge the gap between hype and reality. Now, before AI, learning was slower. You had to grind through courses, practice, fail, and build real understanding through repetition. That process was painful, but it forced real competence. Now, anyone can skim a ChatGPT explanation within 3 minutes and generally believe that they can understand the concept, but they don't. They have exposure, but they don't have ability yet. And the second that person sits in front of a hiring manager in a technical screen, that gap becomes impossible to hide. AI closed the information gap, but it widened the implementation gap. And that distinction changes everything about how you should think about your career right now. All right, so let's walk through a real world example of how this is playing out at the highest level. IBM was a poster child of AI replaces everyone narrative. They publicly paused hiring because AI could handle the work. Every fear-based headline pointed back to IBM. Fast forward to now, and the company's HR officer identified something that she called pipeline rot. When you remove the entry-level layer entirely, you don't just lose junior employees, but you create a critical shortage of mid-level managers and senior specialists 3 to 5 years later. And you cannot build future senior talent by skipping the stage where people learn how to think through problems with real stakes. So now IBM is tripling entry-level hiring in the United States and redesigning those junior roles around judgment, client interaction, and overseeing AI-assisted workflows, not replacing the human layer, but rebuilding it. And they're not alone. Dropbox also expanded internship and new graduate programs by 25%, and Forrester reported 60% of employers now regret AI-driven layoffs because the technology was never properly integrated or couldn't handle real-world edge cases. Other examples include Klarna. Back in 2023, the fintech company froze hiring and replaced hundreds of support agents with AI. But by 2025, customer satisfaction had plummeted, and the CEO openly admitted that they went too far and resumed human hiring again. McDonald's abandoned an AI drive-through system that included someone ordering up to 260 chicken McNuggets in a single order. So the hype was loud, but the correction has become quieter, but it's happening everywhere.
And what will you drink with that?
Oh my God! I want a large Mountain Dew.
And your drink?
Okay, the next point. Let's get specific about what AI can and cannot do. AI is exceptional at synthesis, collecting, summarizing, and remixing information. If you need a quick overview of anything, AI delivers instantly. But strategy is a completely different ballgame. AI can tell you what happened, it can show you what other companies did, it can list frameworks and best practices, but it cannot sit in your Monday stand-up and understand why the VP of marketing is frustrated because the last 3 reports didn't answer her actual question. It cannot sense that a real problem behind the revenue dip is a pricing decision that was made politically and nobody wants to revisit it. It cannot weigh the fact that your recommendation needs to be financially sound and actually realistic and politically survivable inside your specific organization. A great quote is, "Judgment is applying wisdom to external problems." And in an age where AI gives us infinite leverage, where one decision can get amplified and executed at machine speed, judgment has become the most critical skill that you can have. One correct decision magnified by AI leads to massive wins, and one failure of judgment also magnified can be catastrophic. Now, I want to address something doing more damage to careers right now than AI itself. It's not AI replacing people, it's people replacing their own thinking with AI and calling it productivity. And these are not hypotheticals anymore. Air Canada was held legally liable after its chatbot fabricated a refund policy that didn't exist. At another SaaS company, an AI agent dropped an entire production database and then attempted to cover up what it had done. Alright, quick pause. Now, if you want to land your first job in data analytics and avoid the lengthy mistakes that I did, click the link in the pinned comment where you can find the exact steps that my students use to land their job in data analytics without going back to school. Alright, now let's get back to it. A lot of professionals are not losing to AI, but they're losing because they stop thinking. The winners use AI to move faster, draft faster, research faster, and test ideas faster, but they always maintain complete ownership over logic, validation, prioritization, and final recommendations. You don't let AI ever fly the plane. You let it help you with the checklist, but you're still the one making every decision that matters. Okay, so the market did not kill entry level. It just redefined what entry level looked like. The standard shifted from just knowing tools to the ability to validate and improve AI. The people breaking into data right now have portfolios or projects that solve actual business problems. They can explain their analysis in plain language, and they've done something tangible to prove that they can operate in the real world. Whether it's a 30-day consulting project for a nonprofit or a self-directed case study that mirrors real-world business challenges. So entry level is not dead, but lazy entry level is. Okay, so before we close off, I want to leave you with this. Every creator in this space is screaming, learn AI or get left behind. And most of them are just profiting off your fear and giving you zero strategy. And there's a reason for that. There's an entire incentive structure behind the panic. Critics like Gary Marcus have pointed out the financials of many AI providers resemble a bubble. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic generate revenue based on token consumption. So that means a chatbot that fails or hallucinates requires more retries, which generates more revenue for the provider. Analysis suggests that roughly $10 billion of LLM provider revenue in 2024 alone came from enterprise projects that ultimately failed. So the companies selling you the fear are the same ones profiting when the tools aren't even working as promised. The biggest career mistake that you can do right now is chasing all these AI trends instead of mastering the fundamentals that AI cannot replace. Everyone is scrambling to add AI and prompt engineering to their LinkedIn headline, and all that is creating a new wave of people who look exactly the same. Again, just like when everyone was chasing the Google Data Analytics certificate years ago, the crowd moves together and the crowd always ends up competing for the same pool of jobs. So what's actually scarce? Someone who can define the right problem before even touching a tool. Build an analysis that answers the right question and present it to a decision maker knowing exactly what to do next. That's a permanent skill that's not going anywhere. And that's what companies are paying six figures for regardless of what technology comes next. So double down on strategic thinking, business context, and data storytelling. These are the same skills that got my students hired at Fortune 500 companies. Not because they chased what was popular, but because they built what was permanent. So no, AI is not the death of data analyst jobs. It was the death of coasting. It killed the illusion that access to information alone makes you valuable. It exposed the gap between people who generate output and people who actually think strategically. So now that you got the understanding of where the market actually stands, there's something else that trips people up constantly. It's how to build their portfolio. So in the next video, I'm going to break down the exact portfolio framework that my students use to land jobs. I'll see you there.